What's going on, Print Hustlers? Welcome to another Print Hustler podcast. Really excited to be able to have you guys. I'm Bruce from Printavo, your host. We've got our co-host, Stephen Farrig out of Champaign, Illinois from Campus Inc. And we've got our special guest today, Ryan Moor, CEO, founder of Ryonet, Allmask, Allmade, Rock. I don't know. The list goes on. I don't have a full list. But thanks so much for joining us, Ryan.
All right, Ryan, we've been watching you through Instagram the last couple of weeks. Talk to us about what you've been up to from the day you decided to hop on a plane and start working on masks. Talk to us about that.
Well, I think it was March 6th. I was on a run, and I could see, hearing things, what's going to happen with COVID. I'm like, oh, man, we're going to have to pivot. We're going to have – what the heck could screen printers print to keep the presses running? Don't stop the presses. There's this hashtag we've been using, don't stop the presses. And then I was like, masks. And so I told three people. I told my wife, I told Ashley, who runs Allmade, Ashley Metzger, and then I told Roger, one of our shareholders, another founder of Allmade. And they're all like, you're crazy. No masks. They have to be approved. You can't make them out of cloth. There'd be so much liabilities. And I'm like, well, I pinged one of our designers. I was like, you should start working on something in the background. But we didn't do anything. About 2 weeks later, I was talking to one of my connections in the industry, and they were like, we just got off the phone with the White House, and they want to order 500 million masks. I'm like, huh? I'm like, okay, so this is like 2 or 3 weeks before the mask insanity hit. I was like, well, if the White House is going to order 500 million masks, then we should be figuring this thing out. I pinged my buddy Dove down at Los Angeles Apparel, and I seen what he was doing. He was just starting up. He designed a much different mask, started making it out of our fabric, which is a really great fabric always. And so we got the first week, I think our first order was like 5,000 masks, and we sold out of them like a day. And so we got another order, and then the orders just stopped coming in. So I got to go fly down there and see what's going on. And it was like a war zone. You walk in there and it was just people flying. So I guarantee probably we've had almost 10,000 masks literally just stolen off the floor. There's people running all over the place, or they're like, we lost 2,000 of your masks. And I'm like, yeah. And then you see some guy down the street I'm going to sell.
Oh, just grabbing boxes.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because those factories, there's so much freight going in and out. You just walk in with a brown suit and pick up a box and just, leave. It's not probably not hard. It was a madhouse. It's the last time I went down there was and I haven't gone for 2 weeks, but way chiller. But the first time, I think it all hit first week of April. It just went nuts.
So Ryan, you were basically on the floor with them doing all of that. What kind of pivots did they all start making? Was it we're going to figure out how to cut so differently? Was it a big transition for them? You're the closest to it, so.
Well, people are so and you've experienced this, the math of the masks, the mask haters, they get so mad. I had one guy yesterday just can't believe you're selling this for that much money. And so just breaking down the economics of a mask, and this is probably one of the harder masks to make, but even this, this one, which is a little bit easier, the government style mask, it's actually a lot harder to make than a t-shirt. It uses way less fabric. I mean, 25 cents of fabric versus $3 of fabric on our t-shirt. You have to sew this binding in. You got to put a metal piece in or elastic, sew the elastic in, get 2 to 3 tiny little pieces together, cut it, sew it down here, crimp it down here. Get it all in it's a lot of small hand movement. So a line of a t-shirt line of 18 to 20 people will typically crank out between 4,000 or 5,000 t-shirts a day. A mask line of 10 people doing this style of mask might do 1,000, And so that's 25%. It's not about 25%, but it's less than 50% the productivity. The first day they start sewing, it might be 200. I mean, it's literally getting these factories started up. I'm like, where's the mask? We cut stuff 2 weeks ago. They're like, oh, we're still figuring this thing out. It takes a while to get the sewers used to doing that. And then there's just a lot of bad stuff going on. I mean, there's tons of articles that I've read that are this guy was making, $2 to sew a t-shirt. Now he's making 25 cents to sew a mask because I think it's easier. And at the end of the day, he's taking home, half the amount of money. There's like a lot of illegal workers going on in LA. It's because it's not regulated that much. So one of our factories, the cops were going in, and we had to give them a special license to actually open because the cops were going around and finding all these factories that were not authorized to be open and or paying people illegally.
Wow.
Holy cow. So what about the supplies? I mean, is there an easy abundance of elastic, or is everybody trying to tackle all the same producers
Ryan,
here?
make the hardest mask, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is not a simple, cut. Like, this has quality to it.
On the market 2 months ago, you could buy elastic for about 1.5 cents a yard. Now, if you wait a month, you might get it for 3 cents a yard. And I wasn't doing the math right one time, so I was like, let's order 1 million yards, get our supply chain built up. And then this Chinese company, you will wire us $35,000. I was like, what? What? That's a lot of. I was like, oh yeah, I guess that's 3 cents a yard. I'm like, dang it. Okay, never mind. Not ordering 1 million yards. How about we order 100,000? Now it is, if you're buying if you can find the elastic domestically or that can get it here, you're probably paying 19 to 30 cents a yard.
Wow.
So it's 10x. The reason why it's so hard to get stuff from China right now is because the airlines, one of our larger customers is chartering 747s from China. And that's how they're getting stuff in. It's $1.5 million a flight.
Wow. And that's how they're bringing supplies from them to get it in quicker because the boats are so slow?
Oh, no, boats aren't going. It's cheaper than waiting a week to maybe get booked on either an airline or air cargo and paying more. The fastest we've been able to get stuff out of China, right now, air cargo has been a week.
Wow.
Holy cow.
And you're paying 4 times to 5 times what you were going to pay 2 months ago or last year.
So you were slinging a lot before, but clearly they were just all being bought up. I mean, what were the demand numbers looking like that you sold maybe 2-3 weeks ago compared to today?
I don't know. It's changing every day. I'm actually, 2 or 3 weeks ago, we could have literally sold 1 million masks at any price. There was just not enough available. I think what I've kind of dissected is so as I told you, the government got a heads up on this whole thing, and they ordered 500 million masks. Now, domestically, we sell about 2 billion shirts a year, 2 billion. And the big players do the majority of that, and the majority of that's sewn in Central America. So majority of the factories are doing not a lot in the U.S., under 10% in the U.S. of that 2 billion. So 200,000 shirts in the U.S., call it. And you have Gildan and Hanes and Bella Canvas that are most of their production is not in the U.S. So 2 billion shirts. So the government says 500 million masks, and they flood every possible actual sewing company in the United States is working for the government as of March. Now there's a big announcement, Sanmar, Hanes, there was a big press release about it. Parkdale Mills, Los Angeles Apparel, all these guys were contracted with the government, Bayside. So the government's got them locked up in this contract. Then the CDC announces that everyone should wear a mask, and then everyone goes crazy. The capacity of 200 million shirts is trying to sew 500 million masks, which is actually twice as hard as sewing a shirt. And then now every other American wants a mask privately as well, and every business wants it now. The market was just and literally everyone just a bomb went off, and nothing happened for a week. Bella Canvas was we're gonna launch the mask, and they didn't ship anything. It's it was crazy. It was just it was because it was the demand was so heavy at one time, but all this capacity was already taken by the government. The awesome thing is and I wish I would have done this a lot sooner, is we turned our Bluer denim jeans factories into mask making factories, and we should have done that. I should have done that first versus relying on the t-shirt factory.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Because the t-shirt factory is the one that was already working for the government, and the government, that's why we couldn't get any capacity, because they had a contract to ship for the government. They could get us a few hundred masks out a day, but we literally needed 20 to 50,000 a day like we're getting now, because the government contract's over. I think the demand's still there. It's definitely not as hot as like literally a month ago. It was insane, but I think it's still there. It's like if you look at that early adopter curve, you have your first like innovators. That was like beginning a month and a half ago, and then you have your early adopters, your late adopters. I think we're still in the late adopters, early majority, and then we have the majority, and then we have the late majority, and then we have the laggards. So I think we're still in that rising curve in the late early adopters phase. Because you're still, Steven, you're probably experiencing this because you're in the game. You're still having people pop their head up like, should I sell masks? Like, right?
Every day.
I'm thinking about that. There's going to be people like, the people that are still using the rotary flip phones, they're going to be like, in 2 months, they're like, I'm thinking about selling masks, So it's like that curve's going really fast, but I think we're still on the rise. We're just probably like.
Ryan, do you think like now that, like in my experience, like we were getting hit up from LA and we were bringing in inventory, and now the Chinese manufacturers, the Pakistani manufacturers are all hitting us up saying 7 days, we'll get you whatever we want, half the cost. Do you think that's gonna like, devalue what the American side is doing and kind of level things out a little bit and not make it so lucrative for everyone? Or
well, it might get more lucrative. I mean, because right now, like we were always just trying to at least make $1 a mask, and I don't know if we're there yet. A lot of people are doing the donations, which is good. We're donating one out of every 10 that we sell, and honestly, I didn't even calculate it at the beginning, but it's another 40-50 cents a mask that we're now our cost is that much higher. I do think that the pricing will go down on. The unfortunate thing is that there's just a lot of bad masks out there. I mean, I've sampled probably 50 different masks, and everyone's coming out with just not great stuff. Those that choose to make a better mask or take a little bit more design and sell it for a little bit more, it's like the T-shirt. Like for forever there was just horrible T-shirts out there, and then finally American Apparel came around, and then Bella Canvas and Next Level, and you have now the premium T-shirt market is like growing way faster than the crappy T-shirt market. But it's the same thing with the mask market. Like there's all the big players are just making a crappy mask. I mean, they're making a cheap $1, put a T-shirt over your face and elastic over your ears, and it's huge, mask. Here's one that like, I mean, that's huge.
Yeah.
What went into
like
that?
One size fits all.
What went into the design of that mask? Because yours is definitely more tailored kind of towards your face. It's more fitted. It goes around the bottom of the chin and around the nose. I mean, how did you come up with the design and the thought process of all that?
We did. I mean, this is Los Angeles Apparel design. We're doing when we go into more production in our other factories, we've made some different improvements to that. Mm-hmm. But this is, they started making a fitted mask, and then one of their sewers was like, we got to tuck the chin more. So they put the pleat in the bottom so it tucks around your chin. And then we've made some modifications to make the style much more printable, slightly larger to fit more different faces, and a couple different spec changes on the elastic so that it's stronger and lasts longer. American Apparel's always kind of been at the forefront, of designing better quality stuff at a decent price, made in America, and they did the same thing with the mask.
Interesting.
That's awesome. And the wire that's in there, it's the only mask that I've gotten so far with a wire, and that just like fits nicely around your nose so your glasses don't fog up. I was talking to Carson about it, and I was like, when's Supreme gonna now drop a mask, right? So we're gonna see all these cheap ones, but like they're kind of like sunglasses now. If it's gonna be an accessory, I'm sure we're actually going to start to see even nicer and nicer and nicer ones, because it's something you're putting on your face and wearing all the time. So
yeah, I mean, this is the most intimate piece of clothing that we have. I mean, I was going to launch an ad yesterday, or the email title is like, because we're doing organic cotton, because we're like out of fabric, trying to figure out how to make T-shirts into masks.
Yeah, where do you find the fabric from, and how does that all work? I mean, if you're running out, or is it just a wait time from the mills?
I mean, a lot of people are turning T-shirts into masks, and we have about 3. One of our factories is looking at this mask right here came from a T-shirt. So one of our factories is looking at turning. We have about 4 pallets of seconds that we typically buying them. We use them for classes or donating them, or just print practicing. And so we're looking at turning all those into it. And then we're having organic cotton. This fabric right here is comes from the USA. So I just ordered a bunch of this. This will look exactly like our tri-blend. So it's a 50-50, but it's 50% recycled, and then 50% organic. Whereas this is 50% recycled and then 50%, 25% modal and then 25% organic. So the modal makes it a little softer than this, but this is still going to be eco and it's going to look the same. Whereas if you're going with a straight cotton, organic cotton, it's going to be a straight dye. You're not going to get that heathered look. You can't get that heathered look, which a lot of people like the heathered, kind of look. But it is hard. I mean, we've gotten all the sustainable fabric that we can find because that's one of our parameters, is to be sustainable. So we're making more of it, and then trying to figure out how to turn some of the t-shirt stuff, because everything's shut down. All the mills are shut down. All the big factories are shut down. Central America's shut down, just opening back up. Haiti's shut down, just starting to think about opening back up. So basically it has been USA manufacturing for this, for the last month and a half.
So Ryan, if shops want to get into it and some of my, Justin Lawrence was, saying tread lightly, be careful, because we don't want to get, I've never bought inventory before as a screen printer. I get an order, I buy the shirts, I print them. And for the first time ever, I'm buying inventory, sitting on it, waiting a little bit. What should shops be careful about? Because shops are going to watch this and they want to get into it. So what would you tell them is the best course of action, so that, they don't lose money on it, but that they're smart about it?
Well, I would not pre-sell inventory. I think that burned us. That's burned a lot of our printers that couldn't get inventory that they pre-sold from us that we pre-sold. We're now very fortunate to be in a spot where we have inventory, but still, you don't know. I mean, I literally could have somebody come in here today and buy 100,000 pieces and wipe us out. And you've pre-sold inventory that you don't have. I would spend a little bit more money on faster shipping and get them in your hands. FedEx has a really cool service for, we're shipping FedEx flat rate boxes for ground, ordering smaller amounts. They get to pretty much anywhere in the US in 2 to 3 days for $15 or something like that. So, but for bigger orders, you have to spend a little bit more than that. And then get them in hands before you sell them, or at least make sure you have tracking on them before you sell it. Whenever you're buying inventory, you should never have more on the table than you can afford to lose. If you're gambling, you don't mortgage your house to go gamble. That's when you have a problem. So, we got maybe another 1 to 2 weeks, like you were saying, before this market is really flooded with additional, product. And then it's going to be we're just looking at it as how do we continue to make our mask a differentiator from a environmentally friendly, really best, longest lasting, best fit, more comfort with the story, with the Allmade brand.
You talked about you had to go to the airport today. What was that about? Are you picking up more from them, or?
Dude, this air cargo thing. So I started flying to LA to work with factories, but also to bring masks back because we needed to get them out immediately.
How many times in a week did you go?
I went 4 times in 2 weeks.
Okay, pretty good.
And it was awesome. Flying no one was there. I was on a 737 with 6 people. Alaska stopped flying the big planes. They started only flying the small jets. And the last time I took off, I saw literally 27 737s just grounded, all sitting at Portland Airport. LAX, literally no one in security. No one's flying. It's insane. Everyone's super nice. They're grateful that you're flying. One of our founders, Mike Kahn from Synergy in Columbus, Ohio, one of our Allmade founders, he's told me about air freight for 2 years. I've never paid attention to him. And he's like, you have to check this out. And then he, when he saw I was flying out, he's like, I can get you air freight. I'm like, well, that's kind of a pain in the ass. You have to take it to the airport. I'd rather just fly there, and I have to do other stuff down there anyway. Finally, I was coming to the point where my wife's like, do you really have to go again? I might have to go. And she's like, can you look into other options? So I call Mike up, can you help me out with this air freight thing? And I couldn't believe it. I think that first shipment we did 16 boxes. It's that'll be $286. I was like, huh? $286? Wow. And I get it the same day. Friday, we had 0 masks. 0. And so the factory's like, we're going to work all weekend. I'm like, well, I don't want these masks to get stolen. So let's figure out how to get them up here. So we started had them taken to the airport after they were done every night, and then they would ship the next morning. So I think Sunday we picked up 12,000 masks. Monday we picked up the Sunday shipment. We picked up another 10,000. As of like today, we'll have almost 100,000 masks in stock in 6 days.
Holy cow!
They've all been flying air freight.
Wait, so how does the air freight work? So they just fill up the plane or the cargo? Like, is it on a passenger plane or?
75% of the weight on a plane is air freight, air cargo.
Oh, on a normal flight?
On a normal flight, yeah. So a lot of people will fly fresh food. That's how a lot of fresh food moves. Critical parts, medical, Amazon. I saw tons of trucks, Amazon trucks at the air freight terminal. Like, that's how they move a lot of stuff. To ship a box of masks, it's costing us about $19 to $20 a box, air freight from LA, and overnight shipping costs somewhere between $50 and $75. And,
that's unbelievable.
And ground shipping costs $17.50, $18, and we have incredible rates.
I mean, what does the prices normally look like for a cargo?
I have no idea.
It's just good right now.
I think it's more than that, but I do think Mike's told me that it's always been cheaper than expediting. He's like, it's literally almost comparable to paying a little bit more than ground, but your box when you ship it ground, I mean, these guys, it goes through a meat grinder, and luckily most of this industry ships t-shirts, and t-shirts are pretty, they don't get damaged that easily, but we don't ship t-shirts at our company. We ship expensive printers and DGG machines and exposure units with glass, and literally these boxes have to get dropped from 6 feet and survive the UPS meat grinder. And on this air cargo, they pick it up and take it over there and they set it down, and then it goes up this little conveyor belt onto the plane. It's barely handled. They come in pristine. It's insane.
And what, you go pick it up in the back of to the plane or what?
I don't know. I think some of the planes taxi over behind the freight terminal. I see a bunch of planes lined up behind there, or they haul it in one of the trailers over. All the airports have them. It's typically on the back or the side of the airport. It's typically by where FedEx, UPS. I mean, you're flying your domestic terminal, you always see the other FedEx and UPS and DHL. It's typically over around by then.
So really what Bruce is thinking about is the last 20 trade shows, bags that you made me check. Yeah, I remember when we were just first starting out with you, Ryan, we would show up with rented tables
suitcases,
and chairs.
Yeah, Southwest.
Yeah, we would check oh man, we look like fools.
I mean, I had no idea. Honestly, I didn't know anything about shipping. I mean, we built software. So it was the little shipping we did, the UPS guy would come pick it up, be okay, cool. Didn't really know about having a good UPS account it's just you learning about the air cargo, right? It's and then, we would bring suitcases on the planes and then just pay for luggage, wait for everything. And then we're we could just ship these. And then we started shipping them. And then now this sounds like next level stuff here. Although there's no trade shows.
The craziest thing that's happened in this entire thing was my birthday, April 15th, my birthday. And then I was all I want for my birthday is some masks. This is the point, we hadn't gotten masks for 3 days. And I have one customer that is literally calling me freaking out. You're going to shut my business down. I have to get 400 masks to Notre Dame tomorrow, or they are going to sue us. I mean, I don't know what they said, but they're the world will end. This is out of my control. I don't sew the masks personally. We don't sew them here. So, but I asked the factory, please get some masks. It's my birthday. I sent them videos my birthday, please give me masks. And then at 9:00 at night, they're we have 400 masks done for you. I'm thank God. So I had one of our rock techs, Jerry Ibarra, in LA, drive down to the factory at 11:00 at night. He picks it up, goes to the airport at 4:30 in the morning, pretend he's going to get on a plane to Chicago, just checks a bag, never gets on the plane, and then the customer picks it up the next day at 10 a.m.
Oh, wait, allegedly. This happened.
Allegedly.
No. This seriously happened. And then the customer just picks it up from the air cargo, and he's got the mask and he gives them to Notre Dame, and the world is saved.
That's incredible. What is like the next month looking like? Like, is the supply chain catching up where the big companies are starting, like the 3Ms of the world and stuff, are starting to be able to pump in? Or you think it's just more of a brand play now where you create your niche and this is just a part of the catalog? It's a new product.
I think it's part of the catalog, probably from here on out, kind of like a hat. It could have as much play as a hat does. All the big players will be in it. Most of the big players, the big players, the mid-sized players will start to bring inventory to market in the next 2 weeks. A lot of stuff coming in from overseas, but the big players will have stuff in about a month still. It'll be like the t-shirt market. You'll be able to buy a mask for $1 or buy a mask for $5. It's just the same as t-shirts. And you're probably going to get what you pay for out of both.
You're running like a large company, and then you're also doing this. Talk about like probably under a decent amount of pressure to make sure that your company is doing well and everything like that, and there's a future there. But at the same time, you're doing this from like a leadership standpoint. What's important to you every day when you're waking up? Like, you've got employees, you're trying to sling masks. Like, talk to us a little about that. Trying to be a dad, you're like, you got a lot of stuff, a lot more than Bruce and I have going on. So talk to us about that.
The best thing that you can do is like, I was in one of my leadership meetings yesterday, is put your air mask on first and then help your neighbor. So make sure that you're mentally clear and positive and motivated, and you're not in a bad mindset, so that you're charging forward and setting a good example. Our team's really been awesome. I mean, we had to unfortunately lay off 25% of our team off when this hit. Immediately we had to our revenue went down 80% in a day. And so we made some cuts.
Wow.
We were gonna have to furlough about 50% of the time the rest of the team.
Mm-hmm.
So 50% of the team we were gonna do half time, and then 25% we had to do layoff, and then 25% we kept on at a salary reduction. Fortunately, we were starting to bring people back, and we have not had to do any part-time. Everyone's been busy enough with PPE, and then the Ryonet team's been done awesome with fulfilling new presses that are lower price point, platens for masks, education, just different things. We've been lucky. I think you kind of create your own destiny by deciding what you're going to do. Are you going to lay down and roll over and be like the government says you're not essential, or are you going to figure out how to be essential and then figure out how you're essential to your customers as well and helping them be essential? I'm just very grateful. I think being grateful, because even myself, I'm on this roller coaster. Some days it's you're down at the bottom. You're God, not having a good day. And then some days you're really, so how do you get back up on top? And being grateful, I was so frustrated that people were so upset that they didn't understand this whole mask issue. And then I had to remind myself they just don't understand. So I was still making sure that I was being grateful to yeah, you love 100,000 masks. Thank you so much for that opportunity. I would love to give you 100,000 masks, but there's no physical possible way in the world that could happen right now, but thank you, really appreciate you reaching out. And so I think being grateful, and then I've been exercising a lot. We've been having scrum meetings. I don't know if you run scrum, Bruce, but every project's a scrum now. So we have throughout the company, there's probably 10 scrums that happen every day. And I think that's been really helpful virtually to be able to have those teams check in, get motivated, get communicated with, but daily.
Down to the shops level, it's an opportunity for shops to also re-energize, pivot, find new things that they didn't know existed. We saw the huge blow up with merch, doing really well. But, I think what you kind of said, Ryan, earlier is the landscape of things is going to change, and we don't know how long that's going to be for, but there's so many talents that our industry has. I think it's just so important for shop owners to I think someone said it, the same fire you had when you were trying to keep your doors open when you first started, needs to be the same invigorating power that you have now. And that might be to reinvent, but I think the one thing that I've really taken away from what you've done, Ryan, is through tough times, you're creating new relationships as well. This is where, shops can do nice things for their customers, and that's where they're going to remember them the most, right? When this is all over, you were there for me, you sent me a thank you card, you checked it, you know what I mean? And so I think there's so much that we see that you're doing, And that needs to, we need to do that as an industry as well, and everyone's doing it. But I think that's awesome.
Thank you. I'm super grateful to be in the position to actually have something to do. We've been very fortunate, and we have awesome, amazing customers and partners, and so thank you for talking about it and giving it some visibility. But 100% agree. You have been doing awesome as well. And Bruce, you as totally changing your platforms, keeping a really positive attitude, not paying attention to the negative BS, and building new, websites to enable other people to do things that they wouldn't necessarily be able to do on their own. It's freaking great. It's awesome.
Heck yeah, we're pumped. Thank you for joining us, Ryan. This story has been incredible. It's going to be awesome. Keep putting out those IGTV episodes. Those are kind of fun to watch.
I will definitely try to do that. Thank you for
I noticed the frequency, but the content's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to keep
Do you edit
up.
those? Are those all your own?
So I've edited probably about 80%, and then my brother-in-law Justin Koo is a very talented videographer that has his own kind of podcast, and he's been doing. He went to LA with me once, but he has a team that he works with in the Philippines that I've had edit three of them for me, and they are amazing. This last one I went to the food bank, and I just took video with my phone, and then I sent it to him. I recorded a video. I'm like, hey, this is kind of what I want to see out of this, and blah blah blah. And they sent it back, and I had 3 edits, and it was awesome. So I think I'm gonna definitely try to hone that relationship in, because I'm not a very good video editor. It is fun though. I mean, it's different.
That was the one where he went and filmed it professionally. That was your brother-in-law, you said?
Yeah. My sister's
Oh, okay. That was really good. I mean, the especially the way that he formatted it. If you guys haven't seen it, you can follow him at Ryan Moor on Instagram. No E. And I don't know, it was episode 3 or 4 or something. But you had the videographer with you when you went to LA. But anyway, you guys can watch it. They're really neat to just be able to see behind the scenes of all this in the factory, outside the factory, back and forth. So
I had him do one for Alaska Airlines because I'm a huge fan of Alaska Airlines. We did one, and then I gave it to their team, and then they're going to publish it on their channel, which their channels are huge, on Monday. And so we'll knock on wood. They said they were going to do it. But you as a person, you can get visibility by giving other people visibility. Don't just make videos for yourself. Make videos for other people, which actually will give you more visibility. I printed ASI a mask in red, and I held it out and took a picture of it, and they've been posting it everywhere. This Tim Andrews, the CEO, is check out what Ryan's doing. I did the same thing for impressions. If you have the idea of getting in front of somebody, now's the time to do it, because they're probably sitting there waiting for something cool to show, and there's so much opportunity right now to get just amazing visibility, but you do it through helping other people, not just by doing it for yourself.
100%. Well, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing, Ryan. This has been really great.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining us for the Print Hustlers podcast. We'll see you guys next week.